Hey guys, so I'm back with another video. This is my exotic dancing to Jesus testimony. So I made another video. The previous one, it's about New Age. This one, it's about dancing and how God delivered me from that. I just feel like God's telling me to speak on everything and expose the truth, whether of everything satanic and demonic that I've done, and everything satanic and demonic and against God in this world. So I'm here on live, on camera, confessing my sins, exposing them, and hopefully it touches somebody. Somebody can relate to this. Okay, so I grew up with 4 other siblings. From the outside perspective, it looks like sorry about the music, it's just because I have nosy soccer neighbors, and I just don't want people in my business hearing what I'm saying right now. So that's why it's on. Hopefully I can concentrate. But yeah. So yeah, I grew up with a big family. 2 parents. My mom was a housemaker, my dad workaholic. My mom emotionally, mentally unavailable, but always physically present. Growing up, lots of parties in my home, pool parties. My house was like the place to be, especially in the summer, holidays. My mom was the host. My mom loved attention, lots of drinking, partying, cousins around, like big family I come from. But I always felt like some sort of emptiness, like not fully empty, but like a void, something missing. And I also always felt very different from my siblings. My siblings are a lot like my parents, very extroverted, selfish, self-centered, superficial, but I always felt I was very introverted. I had a lot of social anxiety, and I was private, and just socializing didn't come natural. So I just I really disliked all the attention, especially everybody just coming over all the time, like every weekend, and it just always felt like a lot of noise. But I just dealt with it, my anxiety didn't really show through till I was in middle school and my grades started failing. But as a child, everything looked perfect on the outside. Everybody thought we were like the perfect family. You had me and my brother next, and then we had the twin sisters. They are twins, and my youngest sister. So it's 5 total, and then my parents, and we always looked good and put together because my mom was like all about, what the outside sees and looking perfect. But inside the home, my mom always raging with anger. I remember one time, we were constantly hit with the belt. It just felt like she enjoyed kind of inflicting pain. Like she wanted to release her anger on someone, so she just liked it, and she would sometimes smirk and laugh, Same with my dad. My dad didn't really hit us, but he would hit my brother, and my brother would get it pretty bad when he was just a little kid. Anyways, rage and anger and like physical abuse like that. I remember one time my mom like we were just being kids, and my mom ran into her room and like closed the door with a knife, and she said, "I'm gonna kill myself because I just can't take you guys like screaming, and just like I just can't take this, you know." And we were just trying to keep quiet, but we really feared like my mom was gonna kill herself. So she would go into rages like that. Sometimes she would disappear and go to my grandma's house, and we would just cry because we didn't know if she was gonna come back. So yeah, I had like separation anxiety. I remember as a child just fearing like abandonment from her more than my siblings. Like I remember being like 7 years old, and my mom would just run to the gas station, and then if I feel like she would intentionally take too long, and that's part of like narcissism. Like they kind of test you to see how much you love them or how much you're attached to them. And so like my siblings wouldn't react when she took too long, but I would start to panic and feel like mom doesn't want me, she's gonna disappear one day, like leave us. And I would just start crying, and then when she came back, she'd be like, "Are you crazy? Like relax, you know?" So I felt like she would do things like that to trigger fear in me. And yeah, I felt really attached to her. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends, so I would depend on her a lot emotionally and mentally, not knowing that she wasn't healthy to trust. Like I had no choice. I just thought like this is just how moms are, and like this is my mom, and I have to trust her even if she's annoying. So yeah, I grew up really insecure, social anxiety, didn't have a lot of friends. A lot of times I was a loner, but if I didn't want to be a loner, I would have at least 1 or 2 people always around to hang out with, but I never felt any sort of like they cared about me or like truly wanting to know me or my feelings. It was just more like just so I wouldn't be alone, you know? Yeah, it was just superficial friendships. I would see my friends, I would see people around me, even my siblings go on dates, have boyfriends and stuff, and I just didn't have anybody until I was like 19. I was a late bloomer, and yeah, so I was backtracking to school. I was always like picked on, bullied, school mobbing. When it's called like targeted individual. So I'll talk about that maybe in another video because I'm not fully knowledgeable in all of this, but I'm waking up to those things. And yeah, so I was bullied in school, and then high school it toned down. But as far as school, like I went from, elementary school, I had the Golden Presidential Award, and I was really focused to like my anxiety. And high school, like I barely graduated. I didn't graduate on stage, and it was because I couldn't concentrate, and I was so self-conscious about what I looked like that I didn't want to wear like my glasses to be able to see the board, and I was just, even if I had the glasses, I would focus on what other people must be looking at or seeing me from, like, you know, my peripheral vision. Like, I was just focused on other people and what they must be thinking about me or what I look like. Because I was so bullied in middle school, I focused on that a lot. I would ditch. So because I would ditch so many times, because I was so self-conscious, and I was even bullied by, like, my siblings a lot. Yeah, I was made to feel like the ugly duckling, and because I was so self-conscious, I didn't graduate on stage because I failed to meet up, like, the attendance standards. So yeah, at 19 I had my first boyfriend. Toxic relationship. I never trusted him. I always thought he was cheating on me. But I don't know, like, you know, they manipulate you and think, like, they convince you, you know, like, that things are gonna get better. And I was a virgin. I wanted to be married. And I thought this was gonna be the guy for me that I was gonna end up with. Because why not? Like, I thought I was a good person. I was still a virgin. I wasn't doing anything bad. I was just trying to get through college, even though I couldn't figure out why I was, like, failing my classes and stuff. Like, it was just, like, really hard. College was already, like, it was just not for me, and I was just in and out of college. I don't think I had a job yet. I would just stay home. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna marry this guy, like, everything is gonna be happily ever after, and I could just get a job and, like, move out and start a normal life, just like my parents and just like people around me. And yeah, it didn't happen. Like, it was just the beginning of, like, trauma in my life as far as relationships go. And I was just like, he was just like a plain narcissist, drunk, and just putting me through hell. But at the time, it was just really easy for me to, like, break up with him, and then we would, like, get back together. But I knew, like, if this person didn't want to come back, like, I wasn't the type to, like, reach out. It was just, like, really easy for me to move on. Like, there was not much of an attachment there, but also enough of attachment that when he would call and, like, say sorry and that things are gonna get better, that I believed it. And so this went on 19 to 22, and so he wasted, like, 4 years of my life, or I wasted 4 years of my life with this. And then he ended up, like, getting some girl knocked up, like, pregnant. And he said it happened while we were on a break, but I still don't know to this day what the truth is. And I'm assuming that he was, like, cheating on me, but there's no way to prove that. So he got somebody pregnant, and that was the end of that relationship. And, like, I cried for, like, maybe 2 days or 3, and then I was just, like, over him. And from then, like, I just felt this, like, this fear. Like, I just didn't want to miss out on life. Like, I saw other girls, like, going out to clubs, like, people talking about, like, what sex is like, and I just didn't want to miss out. I felt like I'm in my best years of my life. I don't want to go through another relationship and then get cheated on and heartbroken, and then, like, next thing you know, I'm like a 30-year-old virgin, you know? and I've wasted years again of my life. So I had this fear that I didn't want to lose out or miss out on anything. So at that point, I kind of brainwashed myself. Like, to be honest, I was scared of losing my virginity because I was thinking, I don't want to go to hell. But then I looked around me and I thought, like, these people completely in sin, having children when they're not even married. These people being blessed the way they are when they're like fully in sin, and like how come this is happening to me when I'm a pretty good person compared to the world around me. And I just thought, like, how come these people have these amazing relationships and like it's not happening to me? And then I just started thinking, like, God is probably still real, but I believed in God, but I just didn't believe like the God in the Bible. And I started questioning, like, well, this is man-made. We really don't know what the truth is about God. I started thinking God is pretty much who we think we are, like who we think he is. All we can do is try our best to be a good person, and our conscience will tell us if we're a good person or not. But I believed, like, I fell away from the Bible. Like, that's when I just didn't believe it was true, because how are these people being blessed and they're far from God, or they're committing like worse sins than I've committed? So how do these people have these things, And I just didn't think. I thought, okay, maybe God is somebody that's evolved into how the world is now, and he evolved. Like, maybe once it was a sin to do these things, but now it's okay, and God understands the world, and he loves us, and he still blesses us. That we just have to like choose better. So I just thought it was me. Like, maybe I just need to go out and like have my fun and like learn more about life, and I'll just pick a better guy. So I feared getting into relationships at that point because I didn't want to waste my time, and I just didn't want to miss out on life. So I think I went on a dating site, and then I found this guy that looked like James Franco, and I was just like, okay, this is gonna be the guy that I'm gonna lose my virginity to. Like, I just want to get it over with. And I knew like it was gonna be painful and all that, but I was just like, it must not mean anything. Like, it's not a big deal how people make it out. I just didn't understand that if there was any value in it, because if there was value to it, like, why was my life the way it was? So I lost my virginity in my 20s, and then early 20s, and then in and out of college, not knowing what to do with my life, because I wanted to be a doctor, a nurse, but for some reason I kept failing biology. And some other classes were just like really hard. And I didn't understand, because I didn't really feel that anxiety as I did in high school. So I was just really confused. I even went to therapy for social anxiety, and I felt like I had gotten through it for the most part. But I was just like in and out of college, taking courses, and then like kind of just being uninterested in it eventually. And I think, then eventually I was just like, my mom's like, okay, well, you guys either have to work or be in school. And I was just like, okay, that's fair. And I remember telling her once, like, I wouldn't mind working like at McDonald's or like any restaurant, like I wouldn't mind doing that. And then I just remember her um like making fun of it, like almost like saying those kind of people are below us. And I just felt really like, again, like no lack of support, always feeling like money matters, education matters, but why am I too slow to understand these things? Like I know I'm smart, so how come it's like I'm almost set up to fail in school, and how come all these people are succeeding, you know? So that's just how it was. And I was just like, okay, maybe this isn't what God wants me to do. I don't get it. But then I don't want to be looked down on for the jobs I get. So then I think at first I started like file clerk, and then I got a secretary job, and my mom was okay about that. And she was like, I didn't have a car at the time, so she was like driving me around. I also had like eventually when I got a car, I had like a nanny job, and I was doing some sort of sales work, like I did work criminal background screening for a company, and then I worked doing sales for a pizza place, like not sales, like marketing. So I would pass down flyers. So I did like all these jobs, but yeah, eventually I stopped telling my mom like what kind of jobs I was getting, because I knew she was gonna laugh at me or put me down. So I didn't tell her about some of my jobs. But I always felt judged by her, and I felt like I had to make money, have a career, and at the time, I did have some narcissistic tendencies, I think, because I was really young, and I saw how my mom was married and was a housewife, so I felt entitled to that. I'm like, why do I have to get a job? Why do I have to worry about school? Like, I want to be married and be a housewife like you. And then she would just tell me that's not realistic nowadays. Like, no guy's gonna want you unless you work and make a living, because nowadays everything's really expensive and it's not like how it used to be. Like, basically telling me like she got lucky and like that's not how life is, and like guy's not gonna respect me or take me as marriage material unless I'm educated. I'm just putting like all these lies in my head to always make me feel like there's always like a bar I have to like that I'm never gonna meet, like knowing what I'm struggling with, you know. She knew I was struggling in school and just knew where to hit me with those things. She knew I didn't care about money, so she knew how to put me down with the jobs I was getting. Even though they're decent jobs, it's nothing to be like ashamed of, and it's not like you're doing anything sinful or illegal, you know. So I just didn't understand, and so I developed this narcissistic like growing up I was just like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, I'm just gonna marry rich, and like I'm just gonna marry a rich guy that I'm attracted to, and like we're just gonna be happily ever after. And I was really focused on my looks and vanity. And just like the superficial world. I really wanted, like the material stuff that I saw, but I didn't know how I was gonna get it. And so I had boyfriends after that, and I had one boyfriend that it was a kid that actually had a crush in high school, and I didn't see him again until one time I was taking a bus home, because at the time I didn't have my car and my mom couldn't give me a ride. So I was walking with heels home, and then I think it was, yeah, a secretary job. And so I was walking home, and then in heels, and my feet were hurting, and he's like, hey, do you need a ride? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then at the end he asked for my number. He's like, and then he called me. He's like, do you remember me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's me, David. I'm like, yeah, I know, I just met you. And he's like, no. He's like, yeah, I met you in high school, blah, blah. And then I was just like, oh, it's you. And like, yeah, so it was a guy. I thought was like, I was taking extra credits to hopefully graduate on stage, but like it didn't happen. And I met him through that like high school like course I had to take to get extra credits. And I had forgot about him, but like we ended up dating, and then like he ended up really putting in my head, like, you know, like he was just put me down, like saying, you know, like if you want to marry like a guy with money, like you would have to do like get your lips done, like your butt done, like just saying like perverted things. And then he'd say like, what are you gonna do when you're older? It's like, do you want to lay like on a broken ugly chair, or do you want to lay like in the best quality? And just like telling me things like him and I aren't gonna be together, and like pretty much letting me know like you're fending for yourself and money doesn't matter. So he would verify these things that my mom was telling me. And yeah, he was putting me down, but at the same time I was too focused on materialism, so I probably needed it to humble me down. But I don't know. Yeah, I felt like a guy should be the breadwinner and I should be the housemaker, but I wasn't really like, yeah, I was into materialism, but I was into getting it myself. I wasn't, if I was in love, like when I was in love with him, like I didn't expect the top of anything, you know, like I was happy with him, so he didn't have much, and I was just like, why are you talking to me like that, you know? But I guess even to him I wasn't enough, so I was just like, okay, I don't care. Like I was still focused, like, okay, if we break up, like I still had that feeling like, okay, I'm just gonna marry somebody with money. And sorry, my music turned off. 1 second. Okay. So back to what I was saying. I was just like, okay, if we break up, I'm still young. I'm just gonna marry like an older guy with like money, and I just didn't care because he didn't care about me. So yeah, we broke up, and then I was going on these dating sites like sugar daddy, blah blah blah, and I honestly like couldn't do it. Like I wasn't attracted to anybody, and I'm not into somebody just for money. Like I wanted to be attracted to them physically and emotionally, mentally. Like they had to be the whole package, and that's what I was expecting. And like I never, that Prince Charming never came to save me, you know? Not when I was like a good person, not when I was like in sin. And yeah, so when I lost my virginity to the guy that looked like James Franco, like it just opened up. Like I was just promiscuous, like hooking up with different guys, and then sometimes I'd had boyfriends, but it wouldn't last, including that guy. And then I remember that guy even told me at the end before we broke up, well, you know, worst case scenario, if you can't get like anybody for you, you can always be like a stripper, you know. And that's when he told me, you know, money does matter. What do you want? Like, do you want to sit like on a broken chair when you're old, or do you want like a nice leather one that's high end and stuff? And that stuff just like really scared me when he told me like that, because I'm like, what am I gonna do with my life? You know, like I'm not smart enough. I know I'm a smart person, but I'm not smart academically, and the kind of job I'm gonna get is like minimum wage, but that's not enough. Apparently, I'm not good enough to ever have a relationship with that kind of money. Like, that's, I really believe these things that were implanted in my head by my mom and these guys I was dating. And the world was validating me that these things must be real, you know? And that being like super good, that like that doesn't matter. Keeping your virginity doesn't matter. So I was still trying to find like a good guy, but like he just never came around. And I was going out to nightclubs, to the best clubs eventually with my friends, like popular, well-known places, just seeking attention, validation that I was beautiful, that I wasn't like all these things that I was being told in high school. Just everything that's superficial, you know? Like, I remember, yeah, even as a secretary, I think I did, was it then? I don't remember, but yeah, this was before I became a dancer. I even asked my mom for a Louis Vuitton bag, and she ended up buying it for me. Which narcissists, I mean, the least they do is, like, the least she did was, like, give me gifts. Kind of like, oh, this is how I showed you I loved you, remember? But anyway, yeah, she enabled that in me, that these things matter. And I was always dressed, like, in heels, my hoop earrings, makeup. Like, I was never super into heavy makeup. It was always pretty natural. But I did like looking really like put together, like short shorts. I was always wearing like kind of provocative things, and heels all the time, nails done. Yeah, and these guys, like, they didn't even deserve it. Like, not that these things matter even now, but it's like I wasted so much time and money to look good for like when these things, like, God's telling you to be the opposite of that, you know, like adorn yourself with the word and righteousness, not gold and braiding of your hair or fancy clothes or anything like that. Like, he's literally instructing us, but I didn't know the word, so I was worldly and I was wanting the things of the world. And so I just remember I wanted to bring good things into my world. So I remember even putting like, I didn't know this was new age, but yeah, I was like, I put like a pictures of things I wanted and where I wanted to be in my closet hanging, and I showed like a bunch of materialistic things, like a handsome guy, me traveling, and like doing yoga, meditation, being what I thought was spiritual. And looking back, like, I did end up eventually getting those things, but those things didn't like fill a void. Those things didn't bring me peace or happiness that I wanted, that I only found through Jesus. And ultimately, like, yeah, I also wanted like the happily ever after romance, which I thought was gonna fill me up. Um, but yeah, I thought just like the rest of the world and how society tells you and how social media tells you and how movies tell you that, you know, your Prince Charming's coming, and if you feel like you're missing something, it must be like your soulmate or the love of your life and to have a family and stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe that's what I needed, but how am I going to get there without money? Because supposedly, like, without money or um, being smart in school, like, I'm not going to get those things. So, wasting my 20s just with a bunch of random guys, relationships where I was literally just being used and thrown away within a few months, constant drama, narcissists. Um, Eventually, I was like, okay, time's ticking. Like, what if eventually, like, I can't? Um, Time's ticking. I need to figure out what to do. Um, these jobs, I was constantly getting like laid off or fired, and or some of them, you know, it was just like torture. My last job before dancing, I was doing marketing, so, like marketing for the pizza place, and I was handing down flyers, and it was like 90-degree weather, and I was just like handing down flyers. I don't even know if I was in heels, possibly, because I don't remember liking flats, and I was wearing like work clothes, like formal clothes. So I'm pretty sure I was in heels, and I was walking down blocks, and I was just like handing down flyers. And at the time, I already had a car, and I think I had a ticket to pay. And it was weird how everything was just like lining up for it to happen the way it did. Um, so I was doing that for a month, and then um, eventually he told me go down this road and hand down the flyers through this road. And I knew through the end of the road, I just had a feeling one day he was going to tell me to go down this road and hand out the flyers. And I knew through the end of that road was like there was like a strip club, and I knew I was gonna one day walk there, and I knew that that day was the day that I was just gonna walk there and see what it's like. And I just had a feeling like when I would walk in that they were gonna probably offer me a job or something. I just had a feeling. So it's like I knew kind of what I was getting into, and but I was just thinking that day, like, this can't be my life forever. Like, this is too hard, and this isn't enough money to, you know, get what I want, which is something that's gonna fill my void, which is a family and a relationship. I thought, like marriage, and from what I was told by, like, pretty much confirmed by exes and the way they were treating me, and by my own like mother and family. So it's like life started humbling me. Like, I went from, oh, I'm gonna marry a rich guy, to like, I can't do this, to like, oh, I just want somebody normal and I just want a family, and to the point I was like, I can't even do that because supposedly I'm not good enough for even that, to like, because I'm poor. And um so yeah, like life humbled me to like, okay, no prince is coming for me, no rich guy's coming for me. I have to do this on my own and make it happen. Like, because time's ticking and I'm getting older. So that day I had that ticket awaiting, and I went into the strip club, and like I gave them my sales pitch, and they're like, "Oh wow, you're really good," blah blah blah. And it's like, "You're really pretty too," and I'm like, "Thank you." And mind you, I didn't look like this. Like, I would never be caught with glasses on. Like, my hair was more put together, and I would at least wear some makeup. Um, so, not saying I'm like ugly now, but yeah. Um, so I went inside and I saw some girls dancing, I think, and then he's like, "Would you be interested in a job here?" And I'm just like, how much are you making? He's like, "How much are you making?" And I told him, like, I don't know, like $10 an hour or something. And then he's just like, "What if I told you you could make like at least 200, like on a regular, like today, like on a Monday or something?" And then he was just like, I was just like, "Wow, what do I have to do?" And then he was just like, "Well, you would have to like be a dancer." And I'm like, "Well, what if I don't know if I'm ready for that." I'm like, "How about like, are you guys hiring for like waitress or something?" He goes, he's like, "Well, yeah, I could start you off as like a cocktail waitress. You would just be here and like serve drinks. Like, we don't sell, it's an 18 over club, so we don't sell alcohol, but you would ask them what they want to drink, and it covers with the fee that the clients are getting in, the customers." um so he's like, "Do you think you'd be so when can you start? Like, would you be interested?" And then I said, "Yeah, I'm interested. Like, I can start tomorrow or today." And then he was just like, "Okay." And so like they hired me, and I didn't even have to take my clothes off. But he was like, oh wait, he didn't tell me at first this, but once I started like working there as a waitress, I saw like I was making like a lot, like 150 to 200, like sometimes $200. And so I was like, this is great. Like, I don't have to take my clothes off or anything. And he goes, like, I decided I had to wear like sexual stuff, but I didn't have to take my clothes off. So I had like these Halloween costume stuff. You know how it's all like skimpy nowadays. So like I put something on like that, and it was like around October actually, about, yeah, 7-8 years ago, um, maybe more, 8-9 years ago. um, so yeah, like the first week it was good, and then like girls started asking me, "How much are you making?" I could feel like their jealousy and stuff, and I told them, and they were like, "Wow," and they're like, "That's pretty good. I'm gonna ask if they're hiring too, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay." Um, but I also noticed like some girls, they like when they were ready to cash out, like the boss would count the money of the girls, and it was like double what I was making on a weekend, or sometimes even during the week. And I'm just like, wow, like 400. And then I wasn't trying to be like judgy or superficial, but yeah, at the time I was very worldly and superficial, kind of, still. And so like I just looked at the girl that was cashing out, and she had made like 400 something. And I wonder, like, what did she do? Did she do something perverted, or was she just up there doing VIPs and stuff, dances? And I looked at her, and I was like, I didn't tell her, but I didn't think she was that attractive, like in a superficial way. Like, so I was like, whoa, if she can make that money, like, why can't I? Like, and if she's not embarrassed, why would I be embarrassed? That was like my mentality. And So to survive in the club, I had to feel like I was the best, and like I should have nothing. Like I was brainwashing myself psychologically. I had already taken some therapy classes for anxiety, so I knew like cognitive behavioral therapy. So I used that therapy to like brainwash myself that it was okay what I was doing. But before I was already thinking that, but I hadn't even, like, I wanted the money, you know, I was already like hooked on the money, but I was still pretty like, okay, I'm safe where I'm at, like I'm good with what I have, like I don't have to go there, right? But then he told me, you know, if there's customers that want you though, like you're gonna have to do it. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. And he's like, yep. And then so I did it once, and I did like a private VIP, like a private room. It wasn't a VIP, it was just a dance. And that summoned something like lustful in me, like I knew it was something forbidden, that I'm not supposed to be doing. And I just felt something come into me like that was highly sexual. It could have been that Jezebel spirit, seducing spirit, but it just felt like this, it felt good to be bad type of thing. And so I didn't mind it. Like, I don't know, for some reason I didn't really think too much of it. It was just like well, he needs you here, he needs you to, and I just kind of did it. Even though I was like kind of embarrassed, I didn't have to go on stage yet. I just went into like a private little booth, and it was like a lap dance. And eventually, like they of course, I mean, you're programmed to pretty much like fail in life and do what Sam wants you to do, right? Which is do like to survive. So like, I mean, I'll go on to another video about targeted individuals, but this is mostly like work, how I came to Jesus from exotic dancing, right? So yeah, it's like Stan was pretty much setting me up like this window's closing, like you're not good at working, you're not good at school, your time is ticking, you need to make something of yourself. And I was just like, this is what I must be doing, like this is where God's taking me, or like this is where my path is heading for now, temporarily at least. So in my head I was just like, I'm gonna do this for a bit, and then eventually I'm gonna get out, and have like a normal life and a family and everything. That was the goal, because isn't that what this world's about, right? So I felt like that's what I was missing. So like I guess a week or two in, like he finally was like, okay, we're not gonna need you anymore, but we do need dancers, so if you want to dance. And I'm like, why? And he was just like, no. He's like, I don't know, he said something like we needed help at that time, but like yeah, it's like it was all like a lie just to get me in, and then like baiting me. Now like I need the money, now I don't have a job, and it was really good money. So like, and I saw how much more money I could make. So he's pretty much telling me the only job we have available for you is a dancer. So they hired like another waitress eventually, and I was just like, why did they hire her? Like, I thought you guys didn't need anybody. And then they just kind of like ignored me, and I don't know, I think they made me feel like I was slow or something, or that I messed up on the register or something. I don't know, but it's not true. So yeah, it's just like lies. But where you're just like set up to like worship Satan pretty much, as much as you're trying to like stay away and be a good person. But it's part of like, you know, like the whole beast system, where like they want you to glorify the enemy. They want you to either knowingly or unknowingly, naively like fall into sin and drag you down a hell. So I didn't want to go there, but that was like my last route. And so like I was like, okay, I'll start dancing. And then they're like, okay, cool, see you. And so I came, and then I started, and I was just making like, you know, at first it was like a lot, like $300, $500, so it was a lot. And that club eventually shut down or got raided or something for something inappropriate. But girls, you know, you're caught up in with money and the lies of the world of what matters and lust. So I was, you know, giving VIPs, going above and beyond, like sometimes going home with guys, you know, just doing all kinds of sins for money, and because those demons of lust were in me, and I was just so, yeah, demons of perversion were in you, so you're just like, you want to do all these bad things that you've never done, and like it felt good to be in sin type of thing. That's the best way. Until, yeah, years go by, and yeah, with that money I was able to travel, have my Chanel bags, my Louis Vuitton, and my Louis Vuitton shoes, and have all these nice clothes, and I was traveling and like going out, having fun with friends, keeping it all private because I didn't want my family or friends to judge me. Of how I made my money. But everybody in that lifestyle kind of like, as far as friends, in that scene, partying scene, like you're either like a model, or you're an escort, or you're a dancer, or you're all three, or something, you know? So you're in that kind of like superficial scene, and like where you're claiming to be just like an innocent, you know, whatever, model or Instagram person, but really like that's, you're doing that and more. It's not innocent, or that's not the full story of how people are making their money. And yeah, the truth is really dark and disgusting, and I just truly repent for everything, you know, that I've done, even if I felt that I enjoy, like, and I repent for even enjoying it at the moment and all that. Like, it's just gross. And yeah, so I was years doing that, just living in emptiness, because these things don't mean anything. I saw a girl, like, I never had true friends in the industry because you can't trust anybody. Everybody's your competition, and everybody just kind of hates you. There's people like doing evil, like fully tapped into like dark magic and new age stuff, all for money. Like, it's ridiculous. For jealousy, there's a lot of jealousy, and eventually I went to like this popular, well-known club, and I was just like, I was like the top girl there everywhere I went, and people were like always trying to pick fights with me because things just came natural to me. Like, they didn't understand how come I didn't have to tap into drugs or alcohol, and I was doing these things fully sober. and how come they needed that, like, or courage or drug or marijuana to, like, to be able to function and, like, do all these shameful things, you know? I also felt like they were jealous because, like, my looks were natural. Like, I didn't really ever, like, I was too lazy to try half the time. Like, I wouldn't really, I mean, besides my hair was like, it was like a light brown blonde, so I didn't really have to try to fix it much. So I was more like a natural, like, girl next door type, and half the time I just, yeah, I didn't have to try. I didn't have to put on, like, that porn star, like, makeup look or, like, the fake nails and stuff, and, like thousands of dollars worth of, like, laundry and clothes. Like, I was just doing, like, the bare minimum. I was like the lazy dancer. I didn't really even know any pole tricks, but I was just making more than all these other girls. I didn't have to work out or get, like, a boob job or, like, butt thing. Like, I didn't have to do any of these things. Like, I just looked naturally the way I did, and I didn't understand either, like, how come. Like, it was just sad to see, like, these girls have to do all these things, and, like, they weren't happy with what they look like. Like, they had to get, like, the Botox, the lip thing, like, the boob. And I understood, like, it was jealousy, but at the same time I didn't, because I'm like, I just want friends and I just want, like, peace. And, like, why are these people, like, messing with me? And I mean, I won't fully play the victim. There was girls I didn't like just because I just felt like they were fake, and I just really, like, disliked, like, the fake nice thing. And I also disliked girls that were like, if I was with a customer, they were going out of their way to get my customer. So, but I was never fake about it. Like, if they came to my face and said, like, you're talking this and that, I'd be like, not really. Like, I would either say no, I didn't, but I can say that I don't like you, and that's the only thing I've said because it's true. Or if I did talk about you, it was at the beginning because I was immature and you were pretty much antagonizing me, like, provoking me. It still doesn't make it right, but from the worldly standards, I was never out to, like, start drama or talk about anybody for no reason, you know? Yeah, if I just didn't like somebody, it was just easy for me to, like, tell people I don't like them because of this and that. And they didn't like that. They wanted me to be fake and, like, the mean girl thing and manipulate and deceive, and that was just, like, not me. It was just really sad looking throughout the years, like, these girls that are, like, beautiful, like, some literally look like supermodels in this club that I was at. They could have been somebody, like, famous, and they chose, you know, they got consumed with drugs, and maybe through drugs they had to, like, strip, maybe because they couldn't make their, like, modeling appointments. I don't know, or I don't know what they were doing. Because when you work independently, you can just work whenever you want. So maybe when they were not, like, when they were sober enough to get it together, they were able to make it to work. And from there, like, they were, like, doing other things, which was, like, escorting. I'm not saying, like, I never pretty much, like, did it, because it's pretty much the same thing. You're going home with guys, but these girls were doing it, like, all the time, like, and it was something I did at first, but over the years I became so, like, uninterested in anything sexual. Like, I was just so desensitized, and it was just pretty boring for me. Like, it was just all about my money and doing the bare minimum, and I didn't even enjoy it towards the end. It was just like, just give me the money and I don't owe you anything. I don't have to work super hard. I was even celibate while doing these things, so yeah, I wasn't doing half the things the other girls were doing. Not that I was super innocent, but I was one of the most innocent, like, dancers. And yeah, but that was towards the end. At the beginning, I was, yeah, pretty promiscuous. And yeah, these other girls were like drinking and from smoking and then going home with guys and doing more, like, a lot of them were on cocaine and stuff. That opens you to more even hardcore drugs. And so it was sad to see these women that could have been somebody, you know, and like, not that being a model and being seen as somebody, like, God's telling us not to glorify ourselves like that, but you know, like, you could have done something else, like maybe like just decent print clothes modeling, or like even just normal modeling. Like, it would have been better than what we were doing, you know. But it's sad to see how, like, society and even your own family can end up like hurting you to the point that you end up in those situations. And these girls were like, yeah, like years down you see them and they were like losing weight. Some are even like catching diseases that you can't really cure. Just fully like on heroin and meth, like losing their looks and their soul and that light they had when they first started, you know. And I don't know, like, there was this one girl that she kind of tried to pick on me one time, and these other girls like defended me. And then I saw her again like a year or two later, and she just looked pretty, like, she looked like bad when I last saw her at that club. And then when I saw her again years later, like, she actually had gained weight at least, and she looked somewhat healthy. And then I found out that she like had overdosed, like she just died. Like, I don't even know details of how, but I think she overdosed or something. And it was just like, it's just really sad because she was somebody's sister, somebody's daughter, and it could have been somebody's mother eventually. And yeah, she was really pretty on the outside. I didn't really know her on the inside, but it's sad. And you have these other girls like that are witches and doing all this dark magic, and these other girls are putting themselves in danger because if you're not walking, well, even me, if you're not walking with God, like, anybody could be cursing you and out to like kill you. And it's allowed because Satan's like, you know, well, these people are in sin. How can I get her? Can I get him? And God is saying, you know what? It's all fair. That's the deal. So yeah, go ahead. As much as it's gonna hurt me, like, as much as it's hurting God, it's like you're choosing sin. So God can only give you so much mercy and grace and protection when you're in sin, until sin comes to like collect, and he seeks to kill, steal, and destroy you. And like, he does. A lot of these girls have ended up dead or on heroin that I see from what I've seen, and it's just terrible. And I don't know, maybe they've been through some trauma as well, childhood, you know, abuse that brought them to where they're at now. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's happened in your life, like what healing you need, but all I can tell you is like, this world is not perfect. this world is just a pit stop to eternity of hell or heaven. You know, this world isn't heaven, right? So it's not perfect. We've opened that door to sin, thanks to Adam and Eve, right? But you ask, like, why do these things happen? Like trauma, abuse, stuff like that. But all I can tell you is, don't be mad at God, be mad at the devil, right? Because when we've cried, when we've had these trauma, like, God cries and God is in pain with us. But what I can tell you is that, like, God will heal you. Like, he will heal you to the point that you don't have to ask, why did these things happen to me? Like, you'll just heal from that trauma, abuse, neglect, pain that you've been through, that your family has put you through. Whatever it is, God can take it away, even erase it, if it's in his will, you know. Maybe not fully erase it, because you need that testimony to show other people and bring them to Jesus. But yeah, he can heal it to the point that you can talk about it without any pain. That's all I want to say about that. So I also ended up tapping into New Age, as you saw in the other video that I talk about it. So mixing that with sin, seducing men is a sin. Not just them, like, seducing you. It's like you being up there to be on a stage, to be glorified like you're a god. Seducing men, tempting them into fornication or desiring you, even if you're not fornicating with them, to later on go and think about you and do, like, fornicate with themselves, or maybe even commit adultery, which pretty much is, if they're married and coming into the club, like, that's what you're promoting. You're, like, I realized I was literally, like, working for Satan, you know, doing these things and making this money. It wasn't godly money, it was dirty money. And I'm just, I repent so bad, and I have that, like, there's shame from that, you know. Even if God has taken away that feeling of shame, like, I sometimes feel that pain of how much I've hurt him. And yeah, it's that conviction of, like, how dare I, you know. And I was deceived because I've never opened up the Bible. And so I'm pretty much Jezebel, right? Like, God says, you know, he will throw Jezebel in a sick bed if she doesn't repent. And I didn't know these things. I wasn't repenting. It ended up, at first, I was so, like, what am I doing? You know, like, at first I was like, I'm helping people cheat. Like, what if these men are married and I'm like, that makes me a cheater? And I almost stopped dancing at the beginning, and I was just like, this didn't feel right. It just felt like it was eating my conscience with guilt, you know. But I'm like, I have to do this, so I have to brainwash myself to make it work. So I was using psychological things of, like, this is just acting, this is just dancing, I'm not responsible for other people's sins. If they come here to cheat, or if this is cheating and the wife doesn't know, you know, like, that's not my problem. Or if the girlfriend doesn't know, that's not my problem. There's only so much I can control. And until the point I just brainwashed it until I believed it. And so, like, and then I went to therapy, and then therapy just validates you more of your sins, that it's okay. and they tell you, you know, you're just a human being, this is just your job. And yeah, sure, if you see it as acting, like, and that helps you, then that's good. Like, it is acting. Like, they try to just make you feel better, and almost like for you to justify your sins and keep you in sin, instead of like, therapy's not going to tell you, you know, like, you're in sin, this is bad, this is against the word of God. Like, because, you know, psychology, science, none of that is spiritual. It's all part of, like, the plot of the enemy, right? To get you, like, away from God and from seeing the truth fully at least. That, and also that we battle not with flesh, but with the spirits, right? Like, even narcissists, it's not like a person, it's the narcissistic Pharisee spirits in these people, whether it's family or like exes and stuff. However, God tells you, like, do not take part with evil and or ungodly people, or people that, like, are in wrath or rage, or trying to, like, provoke you to anger and keep you in hatred. People that to just not obey God, you know. And these are all, like, the Pharisee spirits. They lie, deceive, manipulate. And when you're disobeying God, like, God's telling you to stay away from these people, and, like, you're inviting them in. And yeah, you have just with sin in general, you're inviting demons into your life, and then you end up being, like, you know, also therapy puts you in, like, a victim mentality, like, you didn't deserve this and that, you know, why you, poor you, and, like, you just don't heal. It just keeps your wounds, like, open without healing. And that's literally what I felt. And then, so yeah, I brainwashed myself to that was okay, and then I didn't know how other people were married or in relationships while they were dancing. I had committed myself, like, I'm gonna be single because I don't want to cheat on my boyfriend, you know, while dancing. I just couldn't do it. Like, I felt like it was cheating, no matter how much I was saying, like, it's acting, it's just, I couldn't do it until, like, years went by and I was still dancing, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm still dancing. My therapist is saying, you know, like, she's validating that it's okay to do it, that I need to love myself and own myself, like, just own it, that there's nothing wrong with me or my job. And realistically, I didn't know, like, it's like I wanted to stop, but I really didn't know. I eventually was like, why would I stop, you know? Like, I'm making good money. All I have to do is just go to therapy, and eventually I'll be convinced that what I'm doing is okay, and I can have it all. I can have like a job that makes me good money, where I can do what I want, and I can have a relationship. I just have to get through these insecurities about my job. And she pretty much helped me. Yeah, she was just like, and then I also had, like, some coworkers validating these things that were married, and they were just saying, you know, like, it's just acting. And it's just like, if somebody that's married, right, they're still acting when they're in a movie, doesn't mean they're gonna stop working. It's just a job and stuff. And it made sense eventually, and I was just like, eventually it just made sense, and it just felt like, okay, I'm not gonna be alone for the rest of my life, and I don't know how long I'm gonna be doing this, even though I planned it for, like, a short period. Realistically, I just couldn't get out at the moment. So it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna try a relationship, and then yeah, I found that last guy that I thought was my twin flame that I talked about in the first video, and he was the first person to accept me, and that was something that got me really like attached, that I felt like this must be my twin flame because he understands me and it's not complicated, and he wants all these things with me. And he, like, at first it was hard for him to accept it, and then within like 2 weeks, because we were already like moving in within 3 months of meeting, so like within weeks he was finally like, I was like, if you don't want to accept me, that's fine, but I'm not gonna stop, like I have to do this. And like the first day he kind of like had through some like fake tears, and then quickly he was just like, I'm like, I want to stop talking about this, like you either accept it or not. And then he gave me hell for like 2 weeks, and then finally, as far as that went, like we never talked about it again. He's like, it's fine. Like he eventually trusted me, and he didn't care. Like he was even like supporting me, like pushing me to go to work, like encouraging me even when I was lazy or I just wanted to stay home and be with him and stuff. So I felt like, oh, this is a good boyfriend. At least he's doing these things. It wasn't all bad. You know, if it was all bad, then like I would have gone out. But with narcissists, they know like to put you up like on highs and then bring you down fully low. So like you become like attached and addicted to him, to them, guy or girl. But yeah, I had that hope that like things were gonna get better with him. But for all I know, he was probably like couldn't wait for me to go to work so that he can go and like cheat on me or talk to other girls. Because when we broke up, that's what I found out, that after moving in, I found out that he was like talking to other girls online, and I even found a girl's number on his phone. I called her and I wanted to know, like, did you meet up with him? What happened? And she told me the full story, that like, no, that they plan to meet up, but he he said that we were broken up and that we weren't even together, living together, that he fully lied to her and said he was single, and he was on the same app, the dating app that I met him at, and he just fully lied to her. He said he was single, and they even set up a date to meet, but around that time I was already suspicious. And we were about to go like on a trip because he was getting ready to work like long hours, and he's like, okay, I want to take you on a trip before I start working long hours. And I think he also felt that I was getting suspicious because I was asking like, are you too near me? Like, what are you doing? Like I just had a feeling, and that he was just acting strange and quiet and like different, like not himself. And he would just like, he would go like that, like no, and like he would throw like this puppy eye thing, like I haven't done anything, or, like just look away from me or like walk away. So, and this was around the time that when I was working, I was actually dancing, and then when I was on my period, I instead of dancing, because I didn't want to wear like tampons, I was wearing pads because I didn't want anything, any of that inside of me, like chemicals, poison. So I actually got a job doing food delivery, and then he actually put me down for that, and that really hurt because it just kind of like validated what my mom was saying and what my exes were saying. And he was just saying like, you know, you might end up dead, like somebody might kidnap you or hurt you when you go to these houses. He's like, you don't need to even do that, like what are you doing? He's like, you make a lot of money already, like stop. Instead of like trying to tell me, you know, like maybe you should get out of dancing, like how about doing something decent like that, you know. He was just always there to like put me down, when it was something like good that I should be doing. And so those times that I started working when I was on my period and stuff, like one time I looked through his phone and I saw that number and I called it and it was, yeah, that girl that I just mentioned, and she said no, like we planned to meet up, but like he canceled, and then he never talked to me again or answered my calls, so I just left it at that and moved on. But I honestly don't know. Like, he could have also been messing around with a coworker that he would sometimes giggle with and say, like, because he was working customer service sales, so he would say like to his coworker, like, like, yeah, when I get back into the office we'll role play, and then like she was like, giggling, and then they were both laughing. So I have no idea, and that's when he was acting all suspicious. But once I called her, like, I called her in front of him, and like, yeah, after that things weren't the same. Like, we weren't, for the most part, we weren't hooking up at all. Like, I was celibate, but we were still messing around. But after I found that out, which was quickly after moving in, I would say like 3 months after moving in, or less, like we really weren't doing anything. We were almost like roommates. Yeah, roommates. Like, we're like PG-13 type of stuff, or like kind of sexual, I guess. I don't know how to explain it without getting. We were like touching each other, but like it wasn't how it was before, like oral stuff, but at least. So, anyways, back to my experience dancing. Yeah, I was making like a lot of money. And then when him and I broke up, I just felt devastated. I'm like, nobody's gonna love me. Nobody's gonna accept me the way he did. He at least accepted me the way he did, and I'm just gonna be alone, or at least until I move on from this job. But I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And I was just addicted to the money, and I couldn't move on. And then when we broke up, I I still kept dancing, but I was sick. Like, I always felt sick, like I explained in the other video. So this was 6 months before COVID. I was sick, and then when COVID hit, like COVID was exposed, and like the whole lockdown thing, I was still sick. So it was like a year or more that I was sick, and it was because of sin and tapping into New Age as well. And God just wasn't happy. Like, it was almost like, okay, I've given you so much mercy and grace, but your time is up. Like, you told me by the time you had this and this money that you were gonna get out. And I did. Like, I reached the point where, like, even when I was living with my ex, like, yeah, I wasn't materialistic any, like, okay, yeah, I was materialistic as far as like clothes. um I still liked wearing like clothes, makeup, but like I didn't care about the fancy stuff anymore, like Louis Vuitton, like Chanel. Like, I just thought that was like a waste of money. um yeah, I didn't care about a fancy life or anything like that anymore. I just wanted somebody to love me, and somebody normal and simple and caring. And he was just like another narcissist. And um I forgot where I left off. Oh, yeah, so God was pretty much telling me, like, like I wasn't hearing it. Like, him and I had a nice apartment. Well, it was decent. It was in a popular area, but like, um, when we broke up, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to my old life. I'm gonna try my best. So I was trying, but like God wouldn't let it. Like, that that apartment got like infested with like roaches, and it was to the point that I was like sleeping in the living room. And I was just like so disgusted, and I'm like, God is telling me to get out of here. And yeah, he pretty much pushed me out of there after him and I broke up, and he had left first, and then I left, and the lease was already up, so, or maybe I think I had a month left, but it was waived, and they were like, it's okay, you can leave. And so yeah, I was like, I can't stay there anymore. And then I started living in Airbnbs. I eventually moved. I was like, okay, maybe I just need to move. I just need to focus on my money somewhere else. And I was still like feeling sick, but I was trying to work, even though I was getting sick a lot. And the music just turned off again. 1 sec. Hey, um, yeah, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned, but like I put the music on to like block out the sound because I don't want anybody in my. I don't like hearing people talk. Like I don't like people hearing me talk, and I'm very private, and like neighbors are like nosy and like stalkers, so like I just don't want them in my business. But so back to what I was saying. Um, yeah, so I ended up moving away, like hours away from him, and I was like, okay, maybe this is what I need, and I'm gonna heal and get better. Even though we were still talking, because it was hard to completely like disconnect from him. Um, so while I was living far away, like sometimes we were getting in fights, and like even though I had like all these new age stuff on me, like crystals and like I was eating super organic and healthy. Um, I was getting good sleep, so I just didn't understand. Like, but I guess talking to him, every time I would talk to him, he would stress me out, and like my voice would start, like I would start feeling sick again, like glass when I would swallow type of feeling, and I would just feel sick. Like it was like I already felt that whole time like I wasn't fully better from a cold, and then on top of that, when we would fight and he would stress me out, like I would just get sick again with like throat issues. And I just thought, okay, I would just turn on my like meditation, chakra, subliminal throat chakra stuff. Little do I know, like I'm making these things worse, right? But anyway, um, so I'm digging my own grave with sin, and then just with being in anger and rage with him, like making me upset all the time. And then he finally, something happened between my mom and I, like just constantly her lack of support and emotional, mental, kind of like always kicking me while I'm down. And then finally, the last straw was like, I kept thinking, like everything could be worked out. Like she's not that bad. Like eventually, I go back to her and like we make things up. We make up, right? So I told him, I'm gonna go see my mom. Like I don't know if I. He had told me a few times like my mom was like keeping some of my money, and he told me like you need to take it out. You need to like go put it in the bank. Like if you always like fighting with her, like you never know. Like I'm like, no, she's my mom. She would never. Yeah, she could be annoying and like unsupportive, but like as far as stealing from me, like no, I trust her as far as that goes. Like she wouldn't steal from me. And he goes, you never know. And like that scared me more, because like the way he would say things, it's like he knew, so it scared me more than like, I don't know, it just scared me. Like me thinking it, like, it didn't scare, like, it wouldn't even cross my mind, but the fact that that it even crossed his head, it was like, so eventually something came into me where I'm like, okay, I need to drive back home, which was like at least 2 hours away, and get my money. So like I talked to her and I just said, hey, like I'm just calling because I need to get my money. And then like we talked, we made up, like I saw her in person, we made up, and then she said, yeah, I'll give you your money tomorrow. And so I fell asleep before my drive back to where I was living. So I fell asleep at her place, and then the next day I asked for my money, and then she's just like, okay, I have something to tell you. I'm like, what? And she's like, I took some out because, and she made up this lie that she hired a detective because she thought my dad was cheating, and just all this other like lies and drama. And she said, and then she ended up lying and saying how much she took out, and there was like a bunch of my money missing, like thousands, that I had saved throughout my years, where she was like putting me down because she knew that I was a dancer once I moved out. And she was just shaming me about it. And she's just like, it doesn't matter how much money you make, like, that's terrible. And like, just telling me, like, you need to go back to school. Like, I can't believe you're doing this and stuff. And little did I know, like, all these times I was making excuses and thinking, oh, maybe I'm tripping out. Like, maybe she's not that bad. Maybe she has some narcissistic tendencies, but she's not that bad. Like, one day we're just gonna get better and things are gonna be clear. And then it was just like, I had gone through this breakup with this guy, and on top of that, like, my mom like steals my money. So she stole, like, and then she denied it. She said, you know, I can only tell you I took this small portion, but there's no way I took this and that. And I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with you, I'm calling dad. And then I talked to my dad. My dad ended up giving me back the money, but I was just like devastated to how my mom could do those things to me. And like, if my dad wasn't around, or if my dad was dead or didn't have the money, like, all that money would be gone. All that hard work, you know, even though it was, yeah, I guess I would have deserved it anyway. But when I told my dad, I was like, you know, I don't want that money because now I'm gonna feel like I owe you. Like, I just don't want it. I just don't want anything to do with it. He's like, please, please. He's like, no, you're gonna get it back from her. And like, coincidentally, they had that exact portion of the money in the account on a CD that they had invested in, and it doubled. And it's just, I don't know. I still don't know what to think to this day. And I feel and I know, like, looking back, there was a time like we went to Vegas. Looking back, there was a time that we took a trip, and she, like, I looked back and she had a bunch of singles with her, and I wondered like where they came from, but they were all like, I don't know, they just didn't look like clean, like new clean dollar bills. They look like old. But looking back, like, she must have been using my money on that trip. And it's like God just showed me these things. Kind of like, the truth is she's a liar and she's never going to admit it, and she's an alcoholic. And I didn't even know these things. Like, when I went back to her house, she told me, you know, I've been drinking a lot because she said she was depressed about my dad and their relationship going downhill. So I didn't know. She literally had like bottles of alcohol like under her bed. And I don't know. I guess the devil had a hold of my family as well. a hold of my mom through her. I know, like, my parents almost divorced when I was younger because my mom's a shopaholic. So, because of money, they almost divorced, and she ended up spending a lot on, like, credit cards, so a bunch of credit card debt. So I know she did it. I know she stole it. I just feel like God was telling me, like, revealing it to me, but it's not something she's gonna admit to. And I honestly don't know if God can forgive that, for her hurting me like that. I mean, I pray that she's blessed and that she truly, like, changes. But from what I know, like, that spirit of narcissism, like, that's a very difficult one unless you truly want to be delivered from it. She's fully in denial even to this day that supposedly she's sober. She tells me she didn't steal it, and she points the fingers at other people just like a narcissist. So that day that I called my dad and he gave me back my money, he confronted my mom, and he's like, all you do is gamble money away and go to the casino and all that. You did it, just admit it. And, like, she was pointing fingers at him about his cheating in the past. When I was in high school, he ended up getting caught having an affair with a coworker. So she was bringing up random stuff, just saying. And yeah, when I got out of there, like, she texted me, I just want you to know I didn't do it. I wanted to talk to you about this earlier, but you guys were attacking me. She said me and my dad were attacking her when we confronted her. And but she's like, I'm just letting you know that this was probably your aunt, that I let her stay up in my room where your money was hiding, or it was probably your dad when he was fumigating something in her closet. He must have, like, stolen some portion of the money and left the rest behind. Just lies after lies, and it's just like, just pointing fingers. So she dug her grave and ruined her relationship more with my dad than it already was, and with her own sister, who she accused my aunt of stealing. And of course, my relationship with her. Again, not to say, like, I don't deserve it, because it's sinful, ungodly money, but the fact that she could betray me like that and kick me while I was down, it was just terrible. And then I went to my boyfriend at the time, not my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, for moral support, thinking we could still work things out. And it just, like, kicks me while I'm down again. He said some hurtful things, kind of like to gaslight me. And he just said he didn't mean it like that, and just, like, trying to create doubt in my head, and almost like if I deserved it, what happened to me. And he just said I didn't mean it, and he apologized. But of course, like it's too late. So that was, like, the last straw, the last time they both kind of, like, I let them both into my life. Like, I never saw him again, and I never saw my mom again after that either, after I went to pick up my money. So after that, this was like November. I don't know, but a few months after that, COVID hit. So once I stopped talking to him, I was still feeling sick, but not getting sick again. It was just more like, I'm recovering, but never fully recovering. and I was just focusing on work and trying to work. So I worked a few months and I was making a lot more money in that city. I would say on a weekend like $1,000 at least. So it was like double. And I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna do this for a few months here. And I think eventually it's just gonna be time to move on to something else. And I thought maybe I'm meant to be like a spiritual worker. I thought I was some sort of earth angel. I was tapping into all that new age stuff. And yeah, it was pretty much COVID that put a stop to what I was doing, because I was not recovering. Yeah, I wasn't recovering at all from illness. And I just wasn't healing emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like, I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I was drowning physically here, coughing up film all the time, and then drowning in my emotions and my pain. And yeah, so during the lockdown, it was just a lot of awakening and enlightenment. And I was coming to the truth of all my sins and all these things. And then I was getting unemployment, so I feel like I had time to really reflect on my life and focus on what I'm supposed to do. You know, like, what's the truth. And even after lockdown, I moved to another city, and another state, and I just felt like God was saying, like, it's time. Like, you don't know where this world is heading. You don't know if these clubs are ever going to open up again, or what's going to happen. So he's like, it's time to make moves. And he decided to, like, invest in a property, the cheapest I could find. And I didn't think I was gonna pretty much do that until I was older, because I wasn't ready to leave. Like, I was stuck on my money, but I just wasn't healthy. Like, I feel like the industry was just killing me. Like, I was dying in every way and drowning in every way, dying in my sins, literally. So it's like that lockdown, it was like a pause of my life, and I needed to, like, wake up and see the truth. And that's what God did. He brought me to his light, to the truth. And I invested in something, but even to this day, I don't know what's gonna happen. I've tried, like, there's no way I could go back to sin now that I see the truth of all these things, of how dirty and disgusting this all was. And I feel like shame, because it's almost like I unfairly, it's not like I wanted luxury. I have the bare minimum, which is what I wanted. I wanted the bare minimum. I wanted to be a minimalist, and I was fine with that as long as I can get out, you know. But yeah, at that point, I just didn't want money or debt or anything. I just wanted financial freedom. And I was willing to settle for that, like, as long as it's a place that's safe. But it's not safe, like, just because you're in a safe place physically, it's not safe spiritually. And I came to find out after investing in this property. Just constant like noise campaigns and narcissistic people surrounding me. It's like, and spiritually, I feel the warfare sometimes still. I just don't know what's gonna happen if God's telling me to move, to what to do with this money, because it's like I have this like almost like I got away with something. Like I'm sitting on dirty, evil money, and it doesn't matter how people like. I talk to some people, some roommates, and they try to like convince me that what I'm doing is fine and that God has forgiven me and all that. But as much as I want to believe that, something in my heart sometimes, in my spirit, it's telling me like I'm sitting on dirty money. How I made it is shameful, and like it almost feels like I got away with something that other people didn't. Like I made money and like I almost like cheated the system type of thing, you know? Like all these other girls didn't get out, they wasted it on drugs, they wasted their life. They're still stuck in that lifestyle. It destroyed them, or they lost all their money. But like it's not fair that I came out of this. Like it feels like unfair, and I have that guilt that comes back every so often. And I don't know where God's taking me or what He's preparing me to do. Like I'm ready to follow Him, even if I have to be homeless, and sell everything and give all my money away. Like I just want to be in His peace. But I mean, I really hope that's not the case. But I don't know. I don't know what He wants me to do next. I've also tried getting normal jobs. At this point, like I can't even live with anybody unless they're a female, and because you don't want to give any appearance of evil, right? So I can't even have roommates at this point anymore, because God convicts me to the point that like I can't be around people for too long unless they're walking truly biblically and holy. And it's not like really my choice, it's just I don't feel His peace or presence unless I'm truly like obeying Him. So of course I have a choice, but I can choose to do what I want and not live in peace. But I ask God to show me the truth, show me His way, show me His life, and convict me if I'm in the wrong. And He's showing me like no one can be around me unless they're walking holy and we're walking in the same path, guy or girl, or especially female roommates. Because I had male roommates, and God convicted me quickly of that. Because I didn't get it, because I was making excuses thinking, well, God had disciples, female and male. So did He worry about giving an appearance of evil? But at the same time, God is God. Jesus is God, and He does whatever He wants. And that doesn't mean that they were living together just because they were walking together. Maybe they had separate tents. I don't know. But all I know is like God's telling me no, and that I'm giving an appearance of evil. So that's just one example. So to make money in that sense, extra money, which was the goal, that's not happening. And as far as getting a normal job, I'm constantly like demonically attacked. And I would like other people to talk about this if they're going through it or if they're targeted individuals. But school mobbing is a thing, work mobbing is a thing, it's real. And looking back, like, yeah, I was, even before I danced, that's how I ended up dancing, because they don't want you to keep a job, they don't want you to have a normal life and be out of sin. And then the work industry right now, it's terrible. Like, sin is literally thrown in your face. Like, I was literally in the food industry, and people, like, constant, like, it's like literally like these people are like vessels working for Satan. Like, a lot of these people are possessed, and they target people like that are children of God and try to like provoke you, and like um there's it's just like narcissistic abuse in the workforce. And what I've been experiencing, yeah, is the same thing. Like, I'm getting either fired or laid off, or there's a problem, or this last job, you know, like the managers, um, they were like really rude, like constantly like trying to shove me and saying sorry, like provoke me to anger. And I was just trying my best to not be revengeful or think revengeful thoughts, and just trying to be like Jesus, you know, just like, oh, it's okay. Just constantly, it's okay, and being nice and professional. Um, this last job, I was working in the food, and I wasn't fired, but these people were constantly talking about sex, um, excessively, like to the point that it sounds so fake, like intentional. Um, Constantly being sexual, constant smoking, vaping in front of me, um, loud, just loud screaming, fighting, cursing. Um, Treating me unfair. Like, one girl was like, okay, well, you know, you've been in the kitchen now working like 2 months, you need to go get, you know, like work shoes, those like slip resistant stuff. She's like, or if you don't do it, then don't come back. And these people like that are managing these restaurants, they're like little kids, like 18, 19-year olds, but they've literally sold their souls to Satan to be like in these upper management positions, and they're willing to do like treat you like poop, just whatever, hazing, like whatever they have to do, bully you, just to for Saint for Satan to give you that title and keep that title and keep your job. That's literally what's going on. And like, I saw her do that to me, and I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, if you can't get them, don't come back. I'm like, okay. And the other girl next to me, she's wearing like Crocs, literally, and she just looks at her, and she just like, they both stare at each other while her back is facing me, and she just starts cracking up. And the girl was like, bitch, you're late. Like, you're late to what you just saw. Like, you're so embarrassing. And they talk to each other like that, and like, but God forbid if I ever, which I wouldn't curse, but even if I did, I would be fired. So things like that, like just favoritism, just talking to you like in a belittling you type of way, like talking at you, not talking to you. I would just like pray for them, and to be honest, sometimes I was feeling like revengeful, so and something bad would happen to them, I would kind of like laugh, or like inside like good. But God showed me, you know, like those are sins I have to work on. Like, even if people antagonize you or provoke you or they're evil, like you still have to be godly and not be in wrath or revenge, because those things are sinful. Like, those qualities won't make heaven. So that's something I'm working on. And I've come a long way, because I was super revengeful to people that are narcissistic and evil. I would just give it right back to them, and or feel it, and that's still really bad. But yeah, it's really hard right now to. I've tried different jobs. I've tried, you know, working at the mall and retail, food industry, not waitressing, but front of the house, back of the house, and I currently do have a job, but it's more like independent, driving, but that could easily go downhill soon. I know, like, in certain places like California, Uber Eats is going out of business. So I know we're living in end times and hard times are coming soon, but I just hope Jesus comes, the rapture is near before that. I know Christians are being persecuted for their beliefs, and there's Christians even like in jail for just preaching God's word on the street, evangelizing, which are things that I do. Like, I go to homeless people, I go to hard neighborhoods, and I pray over people. I give them money. No, I try not to give them money because a lot of them are on drugs, but I give them food or water or snacks. If I have the money, I'll buy full meals for them. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what my next move is. I mean, my mind is thinking of where, but I don't really talk about it until I actually make those moves and succeed. But I know people's jobs are getting taken away. Yeah, just like any kind of job. It could be, if you're working for an app, they can close down your account and you automatically don't have money. Just like Uber Eats, people are losing their jobs in California, like thousands of people that work independently. And people are losing their normal jobs unless you're joining their clique. You know, you're talking about sex, you're getting angry, you're being revengeful, unless you're being evil like them, and gossiping, treating each other badly, lying. Unless you're with the crowd and being fake, like, you're losing your job. And if that's not it, then you're being what's happening in my last job. I didn't get fired, but it's like I ended up quitting because I couldn't take the persecution as far as spiritually. This time it was like, oh, I don't have to even get you in the physical world and get you fired. These people are sending their spirits, and their spirits were attacking me in my sleep. I was feeling sick going to work. Sometimes I couldn't sleep right. Yeah, I ended up getting sick, and lots of stomach aches, and feeling their dark spirits come upon me at night. Pretty much God telling me, get out. You can't be there. You need to do something else. So I really don't know, because I know also the Bible says those who don't work don't eat. So I don't know where God wants me, but I'm just sharing this testimony. My walk is not easy. I don't know how some people say their walk is easy, and like God just provides everything. Like, I mean, He does. He has been providing, but like, this walk is kind of scary and it's not easy, but I'm trusting Him that He really will always provide. It just gets confusing, and all I have to do is just pray and read the word and like wait for Him to tell me what to do next. I'm good right now financially, really good, but I can all change in a snap of a finger, drop of a hat, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So as far as dancing, that's my testimony to Jesus. If you're caught up in these things, I would say, like, no matter how scary it is, just turn away, stop, turn to Jesus, and He really will provide for you. He'll make a way. He'll provide for your needs, and just trust in Him. He'll put you where he wants you to be. You don't want to be caught up in sin and burn in hell. And I'm just glad he saved me from New Age stuff and from, you know, the sinful life I was living, secret life as well, because it was so lonely and secretive and empty. As a sex worker, an exotic dancer. And I'm just sorry for those that are still struggling with these things. But just know that God says you either love mammon or you love him. It's either or, you can't choose. Mammon would be money, right? And I was a lover of money. I was deceived. God showed me I'm dying in my sins. My time is up. His mercy and grace for me was up. Like, it was done. And if things aren't working out, if you're hooked on drugs, if you're sick, like, ask yourself, like, what sins are you in? Start with the 10 Commandments, and it will really show you, like, if you're a good person. Like, it'll show you how bad you really are and convict you, you know? How it convicted me. Like, how deceived I was thinking I was a good person, even while I was doing these things. But God can heal you and deliver you from all that. Even if you have that spirit of narcissism in you, like, if you call on God and ask him to deliver you from it and take it away and give you that heart of flesh that you desire, remove all stones and show you the way he will. Anyways, this was a long testimony, but I needed to share it. And yeah, I encourage you guys to share your testimonies to Jesus. Or simply ask God, if you're still lost, in the name of Jesus, to show you the truth of your life and how you're living. And he will reveal himself to you. Ask with an open heart. Anyways, God bless.